Sick and tired of your love-hate relationship with wine?
Welcome to the Feel It Alcohol-Free podcast. Hi, I'm Coach Ruby Williams.
And I'm Coach Susan Larkin.
We're two former wine lovers turned alcohol freedom coaches, exposing the lies about alcohol.
And giving you, our listeners, the tools to break free so you can feel lit.
And when you're lit, you'll feel healthier, freer, and more in control of your life.
So relax, kick back, and get ready to feel lit alcohol-free.
And don't forget, grab a copy of our wine-free weekend guide after the show. Hello, welcome to the Feel It Alcohol-Free podcast. This is our special Thanksgiving episode. I'm so excited. Thanksgiving's in like 2 days. Yeah, and when we launch this episode. But right now, we're still at the end of October. But I am thinking about Thanksgiving, excited. It's like my favorite holiday of the whole year because I love the food. That's like my favorite kind of food, the Thanksgiving turkey, mashed potato type meal. And then I love just being with family and thinking about being thankful and grateful. So it's like some of my favorite things. Yeah, we have a really awesome question, and I am hoping a lot of you can relate to this. So this is from one of our listeners. I'm spending Thanksgiving with my husband's side of the family this year, and they're big drinkers. So will you give me some suggestions on how to get through this holiday? So we thought we'd do a tale of two Thanksgivings where we're going to share what it's like to have Thanksgiving drinking and then what it's like to have Thanksgiving alcohol free and share our tips. So that's the episode today. We're so excited. So Susan, what do you want to say about this question? I'll throw it to you.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that really popped out to me when we got this question was this idea of getting through. Right? And that's why I would drink, because I had that mindset. How am I going to get through this holiday? I've got guests. And we used to always have Thanksgiving at our house in Connecticut, and my in-laws would come. And, I love them. They're my in-laws, And the stress of, I did pretty much the whole meal myself. Sometimes people would make a little this or that. But even sometimes having people make parts of the meal, if they don't do it correctly or do it, you know what I mean? Not correctly, but you know what I mean? Or they just don't do it. Like we'd be sitting around having like our appetizer and I'd be sitting there going, shouldn't you start the potatoes? If you're doing the potatoes, shouldn't you start them? Because, because you're trying to get the meal. So my drinking days, Thanksgiving, drinking was how I got through it, right? Because I had that mindset of how am I going to get through this? And so for an alcohol-free holiday, I would just love to flip that on its head. And it's like, instead of how am I going to get through this, think what are all the things that I love and that I have here to enjoy besides drinking, right? Because I wasn't really using drinking as a way to enjoy. I was using it as a coping mechanism, right? To get through. I mean, I would start right after I put the bird in, which was probably like at 10 a.m., And so honestly, the difference between a non-alcoholic Thanksgiving for me and drinking Thanksgiving was that I was actually able to enjoy the meal. Like, I don't think after slaving all day on this meal, by the time I, sat down to eat, I'd already had so many glasses of wine that I wasn't even really able to enjoy it. I was so out of it at that point. I wouldn't say I was out of it. I was obviously talking with everybody. I just wasn't hungry, and I just didn't really enjoy the meal. So the way that I would approach it is one of the tactics that I would use is just to flip that, is like to really look at, okay, what are all the things that I want to enjoy about this holiday? Alcohol free, family, food, the cozy atmosphere, depending on where you live. Is it cool? Nice crisp walks. Yeah. So that's the first thing I would say. How about you, Ruby?
Well, I really want to share what it was like for me, because what's coming to my mind when you're talking is like, yeah, I was the one that hosted. So for probably 10 years, I was hosting. It was big too. Sometimes it was 20, 30, I don't know, 15 to 30 people. It varied. And I would my aunt would come over because she was the one who cooked the turkey, and she would use my oven, and she would come at like 10 in the morning, really early, and she'd already have mimosas. She'd bring several bottles. I would have all kinds of champagne. She would have champagne and orange juice. But I never really had. Did you ever have this season where I'd be like, yeah, I'll have a mimosa, hold the orange juice?
Oh, yeah. Every time I was like, why would you put orange juice in my alcohol?
Yeah, I don't want
to water it down.
But she was a huge mimosa fan. So we would start drinking at like 10 a.m. And the family would arrive at like 3. And I know I just would already I would feel so bad. Luckily, I'd have cooked most of the food, or people were bringing food. But I wasn't a very good hostess, to be honest with you. I wasn't present. I remember just barely keeping up with, like, I could ask people by 3 o'clock, like, what do you want for your first drink? But then I had to, I was just stressed, overwhelmed. I remember my son, even one Thanksgiving, or many Thanksgivings, he would sit me down and be like, Mom, you're so stressed. You need to just meditate or relax. And I couldn't, even because I had already been drinking, but I wanted to be like the perfect host, right? I mean, you mentioned that too. And I remember I wouldn't have patience with the kids in the family. Sometimes I'd be at the end of the night, like the weepy, drunken mess. Like, that was me. I would call this a total shit show, to be honest with you. And I remember waking up the next morning and just being so regretful that I didn't connect with people. I didn't ask my nieces and nephews questions. I would have this sinking feeling the next morning that I wasn't there. Like, what did I even do? I wouldn't have the memories even. And it was like this deep sense of sadness almost always the day after Thanksgiving, because that's not how I want to show up in the world, the sadness. I mean, I don't know if anybody can relate that's listening, but it was about family and wanting to be perfect. And then, I used to work in the wine industry, as you know, and wine marketing, and like every holiday, I even use this initiative. It has to start with a champagne toast. That was part of my marketing messaging, and it would be families having Thanksgiving or Christmas, and you had to have wine on the dinner table. Every holiday, needs to start with champagne. And it's just so not true, because now I know the opposite is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
I could totally relate, Ruby. I mean, you're bringing up so many things that now reminds me. Yes, the weepy mess. Yes. Or crabby, towards the end, and then getting in an argument with my husband. But also, I wanted to also add, I was starting Thanksgiving already hungover because we always had guests, and they were from out of town, and we would have a party the night before, and usually we had like pizza the night before and wine and stuff, because I didn't want to cook the night before, so we would, just get pizza with everybody, and usually the guests would arrive on Wednesday. They'd be spending the night at our house, and so the party started Wednesday night. So I was already starting Thanksgiving behind the 8 ball, so to speak, because I was already hungover. So half of my drinking was just to, scratch the itch of the withdrawal from the night before. But so I also wanted to touch on this is a tactic that I use then on my alcohol-free Thanksgivings, is when you brought up every Thanksgiving has to have this champagne toast, or every Thanksgiving has to have these beautiful wine bottles on the table. And so one of the things I did on my first Thanksgiving, alcohol-free Thanksgiving, is I bought these beautiful blue, I can't remember what brand it was, but beautiful blue bottles of sparkling water.
Ooh, I know which ones you're talking about. We do that too now for Thanksgiving.
So I put those on the table so that there were these beautiful bottles on the table, but they weren't wine, right? And we still, the people who come for Thanksgiving still drink. I don't drink, but some people do, and they have their wine. And I have a little corner in the kitchen, and that's sort of like the alcohol beverage corner. And that's where they put their wine, and then they go help themselves there. But I don't put it on the table. I make sure there's water glasses, buying some beautiful water glasses for your table so that your table is set very nicely and you have these beautiful water goblets, and making sure everybody has plenty of water, including yourself. But that was one way to kind of take, like I say, keep the ritual, ditch the alcohol. Like take that idea of this beautiful table with these beautiful bottles on it, but just switch it up. And they're these beautiful water bottles. Yeah.
I actually I went through so much cognitive dissonance around my first alcohol-free Thanksgiving because I was the one hosting. And I really did a lot of work around this because I had made a commitment to myself. So I'm single and I made a commitment that I would no longer have alcohol in my home. And I still live up to that. I see it as like poison now. So why would I put poison into my home? I made a firm decision, but that's the way I am. I'm very, very, like when I put my line in the sand, I stick to it. So what I did was I said, because I didn't want my aunts and uncles to not have wine if they wanted. So I just asked my mom, I said, Mom, can you host Thanksgiving? And I will cook most of the food. I will even come over and set the table and I'll do the floor arrangements. You know, I'm going to do it all like it's at my house. But I have this strong commitment to myself. Like I stood up for myself. Like I made, I don't know. I felt really proud of myself because it was a hard conversation to have with her. And so, no alcohol in my home. That's a boundary. And my mom said, sure. So I arrived super early, hours early, armed with flowers. I brought my favorite mocktail or alcohol-free cocktail. I brought all the board games because I was going to play with the kids since I felt like I was not focused on connection. I was going to play games. I had my signature side dish and I just made a firm decision. I think the decision, if we go back to the listener's question, I think it's about deciding to instead of get through, what are you excited about? So for me, I was excited about the food. I was excited about playing games with the kids. I was excited about connecting with people, really connecting. Because when I go back to my story that I shared just a second ago, I was so devastated the next day that I didn't actually connect and was not present. That was just that's when I shared with you, this is literally my favorite holiday. And the top of the list is gratitude and connection with family and then food. Yeah. So alcohol doesn't even come in there anymore at all. It's just not even, but I'm 5 years alcohol free. So I've really made the mindset shift and done the work. It's been a lot of work, but it's beautiful work. Yeah. So,
and it's also, something to keep in mind. I love what you said about making that firm decision. Absolutely. And I call it making a micro decision. Like you may have made a decision and you're 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year. This might be your first Thanksgiving, but you've been alcohol free for however many years or however many months. But a lot of times these events need a micro decision around them because in the back of your mind, your subconscious is going to be like, well, it's a holiday. This is your first, it's an FFT. It's an effing first time. And we don't know what permission giving thoughts, that goes back to our episode, Taming the Lizard Brain, where those permission giving thoughts come up. And it could be just you don't know what's going to come up for you. So already just knowing that you need to kind of bolster your decision and make that firm decision. Mm-hmm. And then what's your plan, and what is a plan that you're going to put together to, if it works for you to have mocktails or alcohol-free wine, if that works for you, keep the ritual, ditch the alcohol mindset. That worked for me really well. When everyone else is standing around with their wine glass, I'm standing around with my wine glass. Mine just doesn't have ethanol in it. And so there's not this sort of, I'm different than everybody else. I'm, enjoying my alcohol-free wine, which I don't really do on the daily at home on my own. And so it's sort of so it is something that I save for a special occasion, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can still start with a champagne toast, but in my glass, I would put sparkling water.
Yeah.
Right. If my family still wants to do that. But you know what, Susan? Here's the secret. Again, 5 years alcohol free. There's less and less and less wine. In fact, last Thanksgiving, I brought an NA wine. Everybody tried it. And I noticed that the last holiday, another holiday, there wasn't even wine on the table, which is shocking to me because my stepdad was a winemaker. So we're going away from that as a family, which is so cool to me that I can be a part of the change for my own family traditions, you know?
That is so amazing. Oh my gosh,
know.
I love that so much. My family, so this year we're going to my family's for Thanksgiving. Things have changed a lot too. And change is just part of life and also dealing with those feelings, right? So it's going to be different. If you're used to drinking and now you're not drinking, it's going to be different. So just plan on it being different. Different doesn't mean bad. Your brain might try to tell you that, like, this is, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't the way it is. Da, 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 da. You're, a lot of, really listen to the things that your subconscious is throwing up. Like, oh, you're left out. You're the only one not drinking.
Right.
You're no fun. Da, 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 da. Like all those thoughts. If the thought is wanting to lead you to drinking, it's a permission giving thought from your subconscious going, trying to get that reward or or noticing that it's a little bit uncomfortable, noticing that this is a little bit different. And it's your safety monitor kind of wanting you to scurry back to that place of safety and that place of familiarity. And so, not drinking on a major holiday, your first time, is not familiar to you. It's going to be uncomfortable. It might be. So planning on that, but also planning on what are also the ways that are the things to enjoy, because there's so much more to enjoy at a holiday than just dumb old alcohol, right? Dumb old wine.
And having what did you call it last week? Your statement.
Yes.
I love having a statement. So my statement for my first alcohol-free, my FFT, which again is friggin' first time, your fabulous first time. It's a first. So again, when you have a first Thanksgiving alcohol-free, it's a little awkward. Things are different, but if you have planned in advance. So I think my state to have truth in mind, but you don't have to. I mean, you could say whatever you want, but just to have something there. And it was about health, right? I'm trying to lose weight. I'm on a keto diet. I feel better. But even then, I remember my aunt, like, you can just have one glass. I remember she was trying, but I was I decided, I made that firm decision, which we also call like going into duck mode. You make that firm decision, you let everything else roll off your back, and you go, I've decided, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to drink this. And I brought a mocktail like recipe so I could concoct something in the kitchen. So it was kind of fun. And I had brought I love LaCroix. I brought the limoncello. I think that's one of my favorites because it tastes so, and the coconut, like fun flavors. So I could have some fun too and feel like I have some special drinks. And
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, having your elevator pitch, I call it, or your position statement about why you're choosing not to drink, and have it planned, have it so it can roll off your tongue, and and making it from a place of truth and keeping it short and sweet, and then switching the subject. So it's like mine was, I took a break from drinking. I noticed that my anxiety and depression is just so much better, and I feel so much better. So I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
And then, hey, you got a haircut, you look great, or what's going on with your career, or blah blah blah. Something that turns it, gets it off the subject of that. I mean, now at this point, you at 5 years, me at 4 years, people in our family pretty much know that we don't drink. Mm-hmm. And obviously we're coaches. We have a freaking podcast, not that our families listen to the podcast. I always wonder if my mom listens to my podcast, but
I don't think they do. One cousin does, but
yeah. Well, I know. I think it sometimes makes people uncomfortable too, that we're making this choice, that we're judging them. So I always make a point of just being like, yeah, go ahead, you drink, da 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 da, around my family, that it's like no big deal. You can have because it doesn't bother me. I mean, I literally have no desire. So you can stand there and tell me how amazing, this is my brother-in-law, how amazing this champagne is from France that costs $200, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's great. Enjoy. And I have my, alcohol-free toast or whatever. And, he'll even shake his head like, okay. And I'm like, yep, okay. I just laugh it off a little bit, but that can be uncomfortable. Those conversations can be uncomfortable. Don't cave. That's all I have to say, is just let it be uncomfortable. Yeah. Getting comfortable with a little bit of discomfort is a price of admission for the early days of exploring your drinking, of choosing an alcohol-free lifestyle, which is the best. And we, keep telling everyone that it's so worth it. And, I love your, pre-plan, pre-decide, bring your own drinks, or if it's at your house, obviously you have a lot more control over that, and plan what you're going to say. And that goes all the way back to one of our episodes that we talked about, like going to a happy hour or whatever. It's the same principles.
You want to plan honestly, for the whole first year, or longer too. Like I still plan, like, what am I going to drink? Oh yeah. What am I going to say? Me too. But I don't, it's after you have lots and lots of these firsts, it gets easier and easier and easier. And I swear to you. And what I want to convey to our listeners out there this is their first alcohol-free Thanksgiving, like if you're going to be so proud of yourself. Like, I don't know how like I was so proud of myself, and I really had so much fun. And I got to wake up the next morning and go, I connected with every single family member in some way. I felt present. It wasn't this shit show like it had been in all those years before, where I was like maybe crying or being irritated or not listening. I remember not listening when I would drink, I would maybe ask a question and then like walk away. Or like, I don't know what I even did. I don't have memories sometimes, or the memories I have are like, did I really act like that? Did I really say those nasty things? Or it was like a totally different personality came out.
Yeah.
And I wasn't proud of it, but to be alcohol free, I was so proud of myself. I have this little thing I wanted to share, like just envisioning, like, how do you want to be this Thanksgiving? Like really like maybe take a little candle and light a candle, get out a journal and sit with yourself, maybe even like something that smells good and like, and maybe turn the lights down lower, and like this really, how do you want to experience this Thanksgiving? And, just sit calmly, take some deep breaths. And what I came up was that I really wanted to be present, and I wanted to connect with love and gratitude. And really, this is the best gift you can give yourself, is to be present with your family. It's like for yourself and for your family, it's like a gift.
Yeah. I totally think that's a great exercise. Visualization is so powerful. We do it all the time and we don't realize it. We visualize usually the worst case scenario, right? We're really good at that, right? That's when we future trip, etc. But we can also use it for the positive. We can sit there and go, okay, I'm going to visualize myself doing this amazing badass thing of doing my first alcohol-free Thanksgiving. I'm going to visualize myself enjoying. I'm going to visualize myself having my drink. I'm going to visualize my, what I'm going to enjoy, the food, the fellowship, the smells, the candles, a delightful crisp walk outside, all the things. Visualization though, we do it all the time. So if you think, I can't visualize. Oh, yes, you can, because if you probably visualize the worst case scenario, right, all the time. So it's just practicing visualizing the positive. and visualize how you're going to feel the next morning. You're going to feel like such a badass. And if this is hard, which it might be, like on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it's like a 9, like, wow, that was a lot harder than I thought. I had a lot of drinking urges or just crazy permission giving thoughts that I, was dealing with. The next time you do it, it's not going to be an 8. If that was a 9, it's going to go down to a 4. That's how this works.
It
There's
really
like
does.
compound interest. You're going to just like, the first one is so worth it. It's like a notch on your belt. And then you're going to roll into Christmas going, I got this. Or Hanukkah, if that's what you celebrate. This
is like practice for your next holiday, whatever but each holiday you build on your successes and you kind of regroup on where it was difficult and go, okay, I'll do this next time differently and give that a try. My other suggestion, and I love this idea, and I do it every time, even now, is I have a getaway plan. I don't always stay till the bitter end anymore. Definitely when I was drinking, I would be the one drinking. I wanted to keep drinking, right? So I would be the last one standing kind of person. But now I even tell my mom, like I will say, especially, on that first Thanksgiving, I said, you know what, Mom? As I was going to my parents' house, I'm probably only going to be able to stay for 2 hours. And that gave me like an out if I was having a lot of like cravings and urges and just not enjoying it as much as I thought I would. I had a way to kind of leave early. Like I still got to be there. I still got to give this a try. I still got to see everyone, but I didn't have to stay when people got drunk. Because that's what happens at my family. And I get so uncomfortable. Actually, drunk people are obnoxious. And I'm sure I was too. In fact, I know I was. But so I drive myself, or I make sure I've told wherever I'm going that I might leave after, say, an hour or 2 hours, or you pick your time. But having a getaway plan and bringing it up in advance can be really, really helpful.
Reframe. Yeah. Okay. So for all of you people who are like, well, I can't have a getaway plan because it's at my freaking house, you still can have a getaway plan. It's called Go for a Walk.
I love that.
It's called Go into your bedroom, lock the door, and do some tapping. Or do some havening. Some of the things that we've shared here on the podcast, some of these tactics, do some tapping, do some havening, do some deep breathing, take a break, go outside, go on the deck. Go for a long walk, decide, we forgot ice cream. I'm going to the store.
or have a boundary too. This party ends at 9:00 or whatever. Like it.
Yeah, you can. Or you know what, everybody, I love you all, and I'm going to bed, and y'all clean up and turn out the lights if everybody's staying with you.
That's
you have
another
your book,
one.
And you have your tea, your Tulsi tea, which we've talked about here. Like all of the things that we've talked about in all of the episodes are all tactics that you can use to soothe your nervous system, to take care of yourself. You have a bubble bath planned, your bath bomb ready to go with candles in the bathroom. And that's your reward at the end of the night too. And speaking of the end of the night, that's another tricky area. So whether you're going home or you're having it at your home after the event, with the letdown of maybe not trying so hard, but working on, staying alcohol free at this event, the letdown is also an area of where you can be susceptible to reach for a drink, because in the back of your mind, you're either rewarding yourself or you let your guard down, and then all of a sudden you find yourself drinking. Because now this happens, because it's happened with a lot of clients. It's happened to me too. My first alcohol-free Thanksgiving, which before I had any of these tools, because this is when I was in AA, I got through Thanksgiving because that was my mindset, right, at the time. And then I drank the next day, because I'd let my guard down.
I hear that too with clients. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's there's also a dopamine rush. I want to talk about dopamine here. When you're getting ready for a holiday or a wedding, or there's so much anticipation and your dopamine's high, and then it drops the next day. So what I would suggest is having like something you're looking forward to the next day.
Yes.
Like a walk, a hike, or a special breakfast out, or, just something like another reward. It doesn't have to be alcohol, but something that you're looking forward to? I love that, Susan. I'm glad we brought this up because
Black Friday shopping, but buy yourself something.
yeah, Black Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You guys, in 3 days is Black Friday shopping.
Yay. I hardly ever do that. Like we usually do a big spaghetti party. Like our Thanksgivings with my family, which now, because my father-in-law died, we don't do Thanksgiving at our house, or we do it every other year, but it's much smaller. And when we go do Thanksgiving at my parents' house, that's another FFT, right? Also, different Thanksgivings can be a different FFT, right? Thanksgiving at your house is an FFT that's different than maybe Thanksgiving at somebody else's house. Thanksgiving at my parents' house, or my side of the family, is always a huge event. Like we have like 40 people because the whole family comes together, and it's so fun and so amazing. But also there's people then, even this year at 4.5 years alcohol free, who may not know that I don't drink. So it's kind of an FFT in a way that like there's going to be more maybe questions. So I got to polish off my my elevator speech and also anticipate a little bit that it's like it's a rolling party that starts like when everybody gets there, like Tuesday, and it rolls right through Saturday or Sunday. So we're not talking about one day. We're talking about a whole week of. So the next day after Thanksgiving is the spaghetti dinner, which is a part of a tradition in our family. Because when I was growing up, we used to go for Thanksgiving to my grandfather's ranch, which is in Northern California. And we'd all stay out at the ranch house. And my father would go hunting pheasants, and the kids, we would all run wild on the ranch.
So fun.
And, and so now my grandfather's passed away, and we don't have the ranch anymore, but we still carry on this big tradition of a huge family Thanksgiving, which is really bringing together everyone on my mom's side of the family. And it's really special and fun, but it's not just one day. It's like really
multiple days. Yeah, I hear that a lot. It's a whole weekend or week.
Yeah. It's a lot. But again, and it depends on your personality. Leave early, or I like a challenge. And so I would be like, how much fun can I have at this and hang with all these drunk people? And one year we went to karaoke, and at this dive bar that we all used to, it's like on the way in the shopping center that's near the high school. And I remember as a kid, like we'd always walk by the Captain's Chest and be like, ooh, who goes in there? And like, it's super seedy and divey. And so it was like, everyone's like, let's go to Captain's Chest. Like everybody's already drunk. And a part of me was just like, oh, I don't want to do this. And then when I decided to do it, because I have this, like, I want to show everyone that you can still have fun and be alcohol free. I can still do everything and be alcohol free and hang with y'all. And so, oh my gosh, everybody. So I'm like, we're doing karaoke and I'm like getting nervous. And I'm like, why am I nervous? Everybody's completely bombed. And so I'm just having fun and singing and having a great time doing karaoke. And and so it's like, what are the things that you can enjoy? I love singing. I did Immigrant Song, which is a Led Zeppelin song, which just blew everybody away. And my husband loves it when I do that song. But so it's like kind of my mindset, like, can you challenge yourself? If you're that kind of person who's like, that kind of thing, what is your personality too? That worked for me. Is like, I'm going to go and have as much fun as everybody else, but I'm doing it alcohol free. And that was my challenge, right? And like, how much fun can I have? Which is a totally different mindset than how am I going to get through this?
Right. Yeah. If we go back to the questions, like not about how you can get through it, but how much fun you'll have. Like really use that curiosity and experimentation and awareness. You'll be present. And if it means, for me, it meant bringing lots of games so I could play with the kids. If the adults were in the other room drinking, I hung out with I remember hanging out with all the kids. They were like preteens and teens, and I brought really fun games, and my son, we just played. And then some of the adults started playing games. I realized that not everybody was drinking a lot, or not
as much
like
as we think.
I always thought that everybody drank, and that's not true. But I just didn't notice because I was the one drinking. But listen to your intuition.
Yes.
I mean, especially if it's your first alcohol-free holiday or Thanksgiving, really listen to your intuition and do what feels good for you, whether that's going to bed early or going out to karaoke. Like, you get to decide. And yeah.
Well, that's not my first Thanksgiving. That was like my second or third.
Yeah. See,
So,
with the second or third, you might be, but the first one, really pay attention to yourself. But this is the time, Susan, where we share. So this is again our Thanksgiving episode. Like, what do you do to feel lit? I'm going to add on Thanksgiving.
On Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I love the Thanksgiving Day Macy's parade, like having a tradition, finding new traditions, putting that on TV in the background. We've gone to it one year because we live in Connecticut and we can get to New York, and that was kind of cool. Now that I'm going to my parents, which is in California for Thanksgiving, what I do is, and this is part of the pre-planning, is because I made this mistake before thinking I could find NA beverages at their liquor stores, although I think it's getting better. Like Total Wine, I think, carries some more things. But in the past, because we're talking like 4.5 years ago when I, was started out, so I usually go online and make an order of some fun drinks that maybe I even want to try, stuff I haven't even tried yet, and I send that order to my parents' house and go, Mom, you're gonna get an order from wherever I ordered it from.
Such a good idea.
Yeah, and there's kits now. There's, what's that one called? Raising the Bar, that sends you this whole mocktail kit with fun, with all the ingredients and the garnishes. It makes it super fancy. So maybe even treating yourself to something like that, where they like put it together for you, or, if you're a creative person. And what's neat though, is my sister has really gotten into it with me. Like, she sends me mocktail recipes all the time. And she's like, let's try this one. And so we're going to have, a lot of times when we have the Thanksgiving, like you have the champagne toast, my brother-in-law likes to have a signature cocktail. Oh my gosh. I remember, this is another story. This is the bad story. I remember we had a signature cocktail for Thanksgiving and I tasted it a lot. I had to taste it a lot before we served it. And I was bombed before like everybody even got there because I had to keep tasting it. Good Lord. And so, but my sister and I, we're going to have the alcohol version of the signature signature cocktail for for Thanksgiving. And we're going to have the non-alcoholic cocktail.
A great idea.
And a lot of times the kids, and they're not kids, we call them the kids, but our kids are in their 20s, right? They will have the non-alcoholic one. They will try it and be like, this is really good. And it's like, I feel like it's also showing them, like, one year I brought toast and one of my nieces was like drinking that with me going, I really like this. And then there was leftovers after Thanksgiving. And I'm like, oh, give it to Emily, cause she liked it. I'm not going to bring it home with me. And so it's just giving kids also this idea that we don't always have to drink at all these holiday events.
Right.
Not everybody's drinking. Yeah.
So I wanted to chime in and just say, yes, that's what I was going to say too. Like, stock up on your NA options. Like, and this is a perfect time to try a fancier wine. Like, we just had Josh on our episode recently, and he gave us that code. I was looking for it right now. If you want to go to his website, because he's got all the non-alcoholic beverages, it's Geronimo 10 is the link to get a discount. But I mentioned on another episode joyous wines.
Yes.
But, I really we when we were in Sober in the City in Seattle, I loved them. I really love them. If you want something in a can, there's the H2O that Susan and I had together. We hopefully I'll get to see you when you're in California. So maybe we'll even be together and do a little, I don't know, something together, I hope, on our Facebook group. Yeah. So please do join our Facebook group. We go live in there sometimes and we post about, I don't know, our favorite recipes sometimes, or what we're doing, asking you guys to post what you guys are doing to feel lit, alcohol free. And we're creating a really great community there, and people are getting
love it.
alcohol free.
Yeah.
I love it too. I love it so much.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And honestly, if you're just new to our podcast, I would recommend going back and listening to some of the earlier episodes. Honestly, we share every episode tactics and topics that help you get and stay alcohol free if that is your goal. And people have written to us and said, I'm 60 days and you're out and your podcast has been helping me. So yeah, I recommend listen to some of the earlier episodes. Yeah. Taming your inner lizard brain, because that'll prepare you for some of the things that your brain might bring up at, some of these FFTs, the permission giving thoughts, the green light thoughts. Yeah.
Well, from Susan and I, we wish you a very, very happy Thanksgiving. And if you decide to have an alcohol-free Thanksgiving, I hope you're present and it's a gift to yourself. And I just hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving filled with gratitude and love. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
See you next time.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much for listening to Feel It Alcohol-Free Podcast. Do you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show?
All you need to do is head over to Apple Podcasts and do 2 simple things. Leave a rating and review telling us what you think of the show. And in that review, ask us any questions you have about breaking free from wine or living an alcohol-free lifestyle.
That's it. Then tune in to hear your question answered live. Don't forget to grab your copy of A Wine-Free Weekend at www.feelitpodcasts.com.
And remember, do something today that will help you feel lit.
See you next time.